It might work to an extent when you try anchoring confidence, but that confidence that you're anchoring in, you're most likely referencing actual experiences where you actually did feel confident, not generated from saying affirmations. When I'm speaking about all of this, I am coming from a place of having tried affirmations for years and not working and wondering, okay, well, why doesn't it work? And the more I learned NLP and understood what actually works, it became quite obvious. But when I talk about affirmations and I talk about how they don't really work most of the time, and in fact, they cause more problems, people get really upset about this because I think for a lot of people, saying affirmations kind of becomes more of a religious ritual and not that it's actually connected to a religion. I'm using that word to mean that it's a way of thinking, a very fundamentalist way of thinking. This is probably the most important thing I can tell you on this in this video that you should write down and really think about if you're using affirmations, thinking of using affirmations. Not sure what you want to do about it, especially if it relates to confidence. And that is, there is no way fake confidence eventually turns into real confidence. That just doesn't happen. I remember when I was a kid growing up and people were getting into bodybuilding, going to the gym. There was a local gym. And I remember people saying as kind of like a criticism, well, you got to be careful with that because when you build muscle and then you stop working out, the muscle turns to fat. That is physically impossible. That is scientifically impossible. Muscle does not turn to fat, and fat never turns into muscle. And I think that's pretty obvious to people now. I think it wasn't so obvious maybe 30 years ago, but I think you understand that like fat is fat and muscle is muscle. You can build muscle and you can lose muscle. You can gain fat and you can lose fat. Then one doesn't turn into the other. It's like saying, wow, okay, I left a hamburger out in my home and your dog or your roommate comes along and eats it. You don't realize that, but when you come back to find the burger and it's not there, you go, wow, that hamburger turned into thin air. No, of course it didn't. There's a more logical explanation for that. So I think what a lot of people are doing without really truly looking at this in a critical way or really thinking about it, they think if I can start with fake confidence, eventually that fake confidence will turn into real confidence. And we even have a term for it. It's called fake it till you make it. Now, most people, when they fake it until they make it, they never make it. They're faking it, and that's getting in the way of them actually making it because they're putting their investment and their attention and their focus into the fake part of it and not to cultivating real confidence. What is real confidence? Real confidence is when you are certain about something. If you've been driving for many years and you've been working at, say, a particular place for a few years and you commute there every day, there are probably days when you commute to work and you don't actually even remember driving to work. Why? Because you're so certain about how to drive that it's not a big deal. You just get in the car and do it. You also know exactly where you're going. So you don't have to think about that either. It's basically on autopilot. And there's a lot of certainty taking place there. Certainty of how to drive a car and about where you're going and how to get there. That is what confidence is. You don't even have to think about it. Confidence is not slapping my chest, running around on a stage, hearing trumpets in my head, I know a lot of people are kind of walking around, living their own movies in their head and their own, movie previews with epic music and all that and really trying to build themselves up. But then they get into an actual situation that confidence would really serve them and their confidence just goes away, like say in a social situation. They're pumping themselves up with all this internal things that make them feel pumped and proud and powerful. But in reality, when they come face to face with that attractive stranger or who knows what else, having to do that confidence would have really served that person in that particular situation, the confidence is gone. It just evaporates because it's not real. It's not real confidence. Something like self-confidence, that is confidence about who you are. And that means you are certain what you're good at, but also you also know what you're not good at. So you're not going to get yourself into certain situations of pretending to be something that you're not or pretending that you have certain skills or abilities that you don't. That is what true confidence is. I can accept my flaws. I can accept my weaknesses. I also know what I'm good at. And I know what I like. I know I'm familiar with my values, and even if I'm put in a new situation, I know what I want out of the situation because I have a lot of self awareness. That is what true confidence is. True confidence is not about pretending that you have something that you don't, or that you are certain about something that you're not, or that you have a skill or an ability that you actually don't. So fake it till you make it is not going to get you there. But at some point, have to learn what it is you need to learn in order to be successful in that particular situation. Without that, the confidence is never real. And this is so pervasive, in fact, that if you're in the habit of the fake it till you make it, building fake confidence, you could put yourself in a situation where you do become successful because eventually you do learn the things that you need to learn. You become good at what it is you need to become good at. But because you're so invested in this idea of fake it till you make it or saying affirmations for confidence, that you start to experience imposter syndrome. You do have the competence, but you're not making the connection of your competence to the confidence in that. So this can really get in your way, and it can actually destroy your confidence even when you have the competence. That's where it actually comes from. It comes from competence. If you're competent at something, confidence is natural. It's just an accurate assessment of where you are with that. If you are competent at driving, you're likely going to be confident. If you are competent at a martial art, you're going to be confident in being able to handle yourself.